1 minute to launch now. Soyuz is on internal power and auto sequence start has begun.
Abort.
35 seconds now, the first umbilical tower separating from the booster. Ground umbilical to the third stage has been disconnected.
Again.
12 seconds, the launch command has been issued. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Главное подъем.
and liftoff. Barry Wilmore, Alexander Samokutyaev, and Elena Serova now making their way to the International Space Station.
Нормально.
Soyuz is delivering 930,000 pounds of thrust from its 4 boosters and single engine. The first stage of the Soyuz measures 68 feet in length and 24 feet in diameter, burning liquid fuel for the first 2 minutes and 6 seconds of flight.
50 секунд, давление в камеру.
View of it here in the night skies above Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan as it makes its way, now 1 minute into flight.
60 секунд, тангаж, рыскание, вращение в орбите. Понял.
1 minute and 10 seconds. Velocity at this point is 1,100 miles per hour. Everything nominal so far.
В норме.
На борту порядок. Народ.
1 minute and 54 seconds now into launch. Everything going well. And the escape tower has been jettisoned.
И сброс до УСАС.
At this point, the 4 strap-on boosters have been jettisoned. These have completed their job and dropped away at an altitude of 28 statute miles. Soyuz is now traveling about 3,350 miles an hour.
Верно, оператор.
Back with in-cabin views of the crew inside the Soyuz as it makes its way now 2.5 minutes into flight. Still seeing Alexander Samokutyaev on the bottom left-hand side and Elena Serova on the top right. Barry Wilmore out of view here, but sitting next to Samokutyaev. Now 2 minutes and 55 seconds into launch. At this point, the launch shroud has been jettisoned and the rocket's altitude is now 48 miles high. All continuing to go well. 3 minutes and 10 seconds into the flight. Soyuz is traveling at a speed of about 4,700 miles an hour. Soyuz core stage is performing as expected. It's 56 feet in length, 13.5 feet in diameter with a single engine with 4 fuel chambers providing between 178,000 and 222,601 pounds of thrust for its 3 minutes and 28 seconds of operation. Stage will continue to burn until the 4-minute 43-second mark. Soyuz uses what's called a hot stage technique. Third stage will ignite while the second is still burning. This is why the Soyuz has an open area between the second and third stages. And there, finally, a view of Barry Butch Wilmore inside the Soyuz, and again the toy rabbit that's going to indicate when the crew has made it into microgravity. Everything continuing to operate nominally as the Soyuz continues on its flight. 4 minutes and 20 seconds now into its journey.
в норме.
На борту порядок.
4 minutes now and 48 seconds into flight. Core booster is separating at an altitude of 105 miles above Earth. Soyuz is now being propelled by the single engine, the Soyuz third stage. This engine's providing 67,000 pounds of thrust and will burn for 4 minutes and 2 seconds.
И 130 секунд.
5.5 minutes into the flight now. Everything continuing to perform as expected as Soyuz makes its way into space and on path for the International Space Station.
Ангар с рысканием, вращением в норме.
'Team on the ground continuing to report that every thing working as expected. All systems performing nominally at this point. 6 minutes and 45 seconds now into flight. Alexander Samokutyaev, commander for the Soyuz, waving there.
В норме.
Seven and a half minutes into today's flight. Soyuz now traveling at about 13,500 miles an hour. Once the third stage delivers the Soyuz to orbit and the module is separated, a series of pre-programmed commands will be executed to prepare the Soyuz for orbital operations. These stored commands, called time-tagged commands, allow many of the Soyuz systems to be automatically activated on board computers as at precise times stored in those computers.
Секунд. Нормальный. И 120 секунд. Есть подключение двигателей третьей ступени. Есть подключение.
9 minutes now into launch, and the third stage of the Soyuz has separated. The single liquid-fueled engine shut down and dropped away at an altitude of about 125 statute miles. Third stage is performing a maneuver that will open a valve in its liquid oxygen tank. Team here on the ground reporting that third stage separation.
Houston, that looked like a good ride. We got to see about the first 30 seconds and then lost the Soyuz behind the Dragon. But we are happy to be watching NASA TV and see these guys safely in orbit, and we'll have dinner waiting for them.
Houston copy. Sounds good to us.
Team on board the International Space Station reported they got to watch the launch. As I was saying, the third stage cut off and separated as planned, and the crew and its capsule are now safely in orbit. The spacecraft is automatically executing its pre-programmed commands to deploy the antennas and solar arrays. Soyuz is orbiting at an altitude of about 143 miles by 118 miles. That orbit will be raised systematically over the course of the next 6 hours, placing it in close proximity to the International Space Station. Control of the spacecraft from here on will be overseen by the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow. Still getting a good view here of the crew inside the Soyuz. Now, as I mentioned already, to space and getting ready to move into rendezvous preparations as they begin making their way towards the International Space Station.
Так, Саша, значит, сейчас надо впервые ввести за пределы местного контроля. Слово B10-0, вводим единицу.
Впервые, Лена, вводим впервые. Запрет динамического контроля.
Слово B10-0, единица.
B10-0, единичка. Лена, вводим впервые. 6, 10. Запрет динамического контроля. В нулевое слово единичку. B10.
Принято, введено. РТР пошел.
И наблюдаем.
View here of the Soyuz telemetry displays as the crew, again, getting to work now that they have made it onto orbit safely and are getting ready to move on to the activities that will put them in place for docking with the International Space Station tonight.